Alright, so welcome back to another episode. So in this episode, we're going to go ahead and dive into the Discord bot project. And we're going to go ahead and install Socket.io client. Not Socket.io server or just regular Socket.io, the actual client itself. Because remember, we need to connect to the Socket.io server, which is the same application hosting our NestJS REST API. And we need to go ahead and connect to that WebSocket server. Okay, and we do that by using the Socket.io client. So there's actually lots of API, lots of documentation on Socket.io, which is really nice. Let me turn this into dark mode real quick. So if you want to browse Socket.io on your own, you can go over here and take a look at it on your own. But you can see that there is a server API and there is the client API. Okay, we already have the server already set up already, which is what we did in the previous episodes. So now we just got to set up the client, which is going to be done on our Discord bot. So the first thing we're going to do is jump into our terminal, and we're going to go ahead and go inside our Discord bot project, and we're going to install Socket.io client. So we do that by simply just doing yarn add Socket.io client. Okay. And I think we can also install the types as well. There should be a types library. Okay, there we go. Yeah, there usually are types for the package that you install if you're using TypeScript. You can just easily install the types package. Okay, but it seems like Socket.io client provides its own type definitions. So you actually don't even need to install this, but you could if you want to, but I don't really think there's a point to doing that anyways. Okay, so now we have Socket.io installed. Let's go back to the Discord bot project, which is right over here, Discord bot v13. Okay, and what we got to do is we got to go ahead and connect to the server. So let's go ahead and just start off by connecting to the server real quick. So what I'll do is I'll just simply import IO from Socket.io client, just like that. Okay, and then all we got to do, and this is literally just based off of what the Socket.io client API documentation provides with us, we can just easily connect to the Socket.io server. So what we can do is we can just simply create a variable called socket, call the IO function, pass in the URL of the Socket.io server. So that's port 3001. And we can pass in options if we want to, but I'll leave that for you all to discover. Okay, and let me see what else is there. I want to go ahead and let's see. There should be a way where we can actually there should be like a way where we can handle events, but for now, let me save this. But no error was thrown, which is good. Okay. So let me go ahead into our dashboard API, and we should actually see, we should actually be seeing logs whenever a connection is made. But I think that might not necessarily be the case, because in NestJS, I'm not sure if there's a way where you can handle default connections. Like for example, just like upon like the default connection, you can just display like a log, for example. I don't really see that in the docs. But that's fine. So here's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and send a message to guilds. So let's do this. Let me go ahead inside the socket. I'm going to actually go ahead and take this and move this over here. And I wonder if this is, I think this is synchronous. Okay, so let's do socket, and we'll go ahead and do omit guilds, and we can pass in args. And we'll just do message hello world. And hopefully no errors thrown. Okay, so it seems like no errors being thrown. That's good. Let me get rid of this console log because it's just clogging up my my logs. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and check the NestJS server, and you can see that it's actually successfully receiving the data, which is good. This is actually good. Okay, this is actually really good. So right now we're able to send messages from the Discord bot to the WebSocket server. Okay, but what if we want to do it the other way around? Because that's the main goal, right? We want to be able to actually send messages from the WebSocket server to the WebSocket client. Well, not really send messages, but emit an event that the client is going to be able to consume. Okay, well, fortunately, on the client, we can actually use socket.on. There's a method called socket.on, and you can actually listen to events through here. Now, for now, what I'll do is this. I'm going to go and get rid of the socket.emit because we already know that we're able to successfully connect to the socket, the WebSocket server. Just for now, what I'll do is right down here, I'll go ahead and register the event inside this async method. Later on, what we'll do is we'll actually set this up. We'll actually set up a custom event handler for all of the WebSocket events. We'll set it up similar to how the event handler for our Discord bot is set up, right? So if you're familiar with how the event handler works underneath the hood, you can actually handle the WebSocket events the same way that you do it with the Discord events. But for now, we'll just set it up like socket.on, and we'll go and do guild prefix update, and we'll set up a listener, which is going to take in any. Well, for now, we'll just take in a single argument, and the type is going to be any. And I'll just console log this, and I'll just call this guild prefix update, and I'll console log data. Okay, so we should be able to subscribe to this guild prefix update event, and this event is going to be emitted from the WebSocket server. And I'll show you right now how we can actually emit the event from the WebSocket server. So now we got to go into our NestJS project. So right over here, Discord dashboard API. And we can go literally to anywhere we want. So I'm going to go into the guild controller. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the WebSocket server decorator. This is how we can actually get the instance of the WebSocket server. Now, the type is actually going to come from the socket.io library. Okay, so this server type is coming from the socket.io library. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and reference this server. So we now have the actual WebSocket server, and we can literally do whatever we want. Okay, so whenever we go ahead and update the guild prefix, what we'll do is we'll send an event out. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and get the guild prefix. You can see that this method returns an instance of guild configuration. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and not resolve, but we'll await update guild prefix method call so we can get the actual value. So const config equals await this .guild service to update guild prefix. Okay, so now that we have the actual config value, we're first going to go ahead and reference this .server. Actually, let me call this WebSocket. I'm going to call this WS actually. And I'll go ahead and do emit guild. I think the event was called guild prefix update. Yep, guild prefix update. And we can go ahead and pass in literally anything that we want, but we'll pass in config. Okay. And then once that's done, we can go ahead and just return config, just like that. All right, cool. So now all we got to do is just call this update guild prefix endpoint. All right, so now that we're in our dashboard, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and select one of my servers. So I'll select this one. We'll go to command prefix. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and update the prefix now. And I want you to pay attention to the logs real quick. So what's going to happen is, well, what should happen is we're going to call this endpoint. It's going to update the guild prefix, and then it's going to go ahead and emit this guild prefix update, or it should, and it's going to return config. So if I click on save, let's see. So it's saying cannot read properties of null reading omits. Okay. So it seems like something's going on with this WebSocket server. So, all right. So I actually think we cannot do this specifically. I think what we need to do instead is we actually need to do this. We're gonna go ahead and do this instead. So we're gonna go inside that that WebSocket handler class. We'll go ahead and use the WebSocket server decorator. And let me go ahead and just import that right over here. And we'll actually do this. I think we should be able to inject the WebSocket handler. We should be able to use this class to do what we need to do. So instead of actually emitting the event directly inside Guild's controller, we'll actually create a method inside WebSocket handler to take care of that. So what I'll do is I'll do this emit guild prefix. Actually, I'll just call this guild prefix update. Okay. So what we should be able to do, let me just get rid of those imports. We should be able to inject this WebSocket handler. So let's do that. Okay. And it's going to give us this issue. And that's okay because we do need to import. We can just import WebSocket module and that should be okay. So inside Guild's module, we can import WebSocket module. And we can go inside the WebSocket module. And I think we can just export WebSocket handler, and that should technically work. Perfect. Okay, so now we should be able to just call this dots WS handler guild prefix update. Okay, so when I call this, I'll just do a console log emitting. Okay, so let's go back to the front end. So okay, so perfect. It does call this method perfect. Now let's actually make sure that it can actually reference the server. So hopefully there's no null issue. So this .ws.emit guild prefix update, and I'll just pass in an empty object for now. So yeah, guild prefix update. All right, let's test this out and let's see what happens. So seems like no error happened. Let's look at the Discord bot. Perfect. So you can see on the Discord bot, guild prefix update was logged, and whatever was passed in is being logged as well. So the data. Okay, that's literally okay. So that's literally what we want. Okay, so I guess instead of actually doing it directly from the guild controller, it's better if we do it from the WebSocket handler. I was actually gonna do that temporarily inside guild controller and then encapsulate that inside its own service class. But I guess WebSocket handler does a trick for us, so we'll leave it like this for now. Okay, so let's go ahead and modify guild prefix update just a little bit. So that way we can actually pass in guild config. So we'll expect guild configuration to be passed in. Okay, and then we'll just pass in config just like that. So now, if I go ahead and let me just refresh the page. Let's go back and select this and select command prefix. Let's go ahead and change this to ampersand. Click save. Let's go into the Discord bot. You can see right now what's happening is because we subscribe to guild prefix update from the WebSocket server. Okay, and the WebSocket server, we made it so that we can emit the guild prefix event. Whenever we update the guild prefix now, it's going to go ahead and send an event to all of its clients, all of the connections to this WebSocket server. And inside the Discord bot application, we can see that because we are subscribing to Guild Prefix Update, we can see that every single time we receive a message for this event, it's going to log the appropriate data. So you can see right now, we logged Guild Prefix Update, and it logs the actual data, which is the guild config. Okay, so all we need to do from here is literally just find the correct configuration to update, and just update it inside the guild.configs collection. Okay, so that's literally all we got to do. So for example, and this is going to be the last part of this episode. So what I'll do is I'll console log guild.configs, or not guild.configs, sorry, client.configs. Okay, and I'll also type annotate data as a guild configuration, because it really should be an instance of guild configuration. Remember, guild configuration, the entity on the bot application must match the must match the NestJS entity. So they're pretty much the same anyways. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, let me actually change this to config as well. Okay, so all we gotta do is we just gotta go ahead and reference client.configs. We're gonna go ahead and call set config.guild ID. So this will override. So if the guild config already exists already, it's just gonna override this, because remember, we're mapping all of the configurations based on the guild ID. So we're just gonna override the value. Okay, so if I go ahead and do console log client.configs, you're going to see the updated value is going to take place, which means now we can actually use the updated prefix for our Discord bot. So the bot has logged in. So right now, if we refresh, let's go to the server. So the prefix is ampersand. Okay, the prefix is currently ampersand. Let me actually open up Discord real quick. Let's go inside my server. So right now I'm in my Discord server. So if I go ahead and use ampersand test, okay, you see that it works perfectly fine. If I use, other prefixes, it's not going to work, obviously. Okay, so currently in memory right now, the ampersand is the prefix, right? Because that's what the current guild configuration has it set. Okay, now I'm going to change it to, let's change it to not dollar sign, exclamation mark. Let's click save. We can see the event being logged, or not the event being logged. We can see that the event is working. Okay, so inside so right now we're in our Discord bot application logs. So let's look at the before and after logs. Okay, so the first thing that we log is client.configs before. So this right over here is the payload that was sent from the WebSocket server from NestJS application. Okay, this is what we're using to update the previous to the new one. This right over here is the previous value of client.configs. Okay, so you can see that this value right over here is the guild configuration for the server that we are modifying. The prefix was previously ampersand. Okay, right now, after we updated it, it's now exclamation mark right over here. Okay, so now if I go into the Discord application, and if I do $test, it's not going to work anymore. But if I do exclamation mark test, it's going to work. If we did not emit this event, let's say if I comment this out, okay, I'm going to go back here. So right now, let's go back to the server again, because the server the bot just restarted. Exclamation mark test works. Okay, let me change this to $. Okay, let me just refresh just to make sure that the prefix actually was updated. So you can see that the API obviously is going to send back the latest value because we're fetching it, right? But the bot doesn't know what the latest value is. It has stale data. So if I use exclamation mark test, it's still going to work. If I use $test, which is a new prefix, it's not going to work. And that is the importance of having this WebSocket connection. Okay, this is not the only thing that you would use the WebSocket for. There's obviously a lot of other things that you would need the WebSocket for, but it's a good way to create communication between two server-sided applications instead of just making HTTP requests. Okay, and plus, it wouldn't really make sense to make HTTP requests from the NestJS API to the Discord bot application. First of all, that wouldn't even be possible because the Discord bot is not a REST API. It doesn't use REST protocol. So it wouldn't make sense to even set up it wouldn't make sense to do that, right? WebSocket would be a perfect solution for this. So I hope this all makes sense. So hopefully that, makes sense. Hopefully you can understand why WebSockets are important. And that's going to be pretty much it for this little mini series with WebSockets. In the next couple of episodes, I'm going to show you all how to set up Redis. And so instead of actually saving everything into a variable in memory, you can actually save it to Redis. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Peace out.